Stocks pull back ahead of the US Federal Reserve's interest rate decision on Wednesday. Realty ekes out gains, but power, energy and financials drag mid-caps fare better. Vedanta declares a fourth interim dividend of rupees 8.50 per share, amounting to over rupees 3,300 crores, of which near 1,900 crore rupees will accrue to the promoters. The latest payout takes the total dividend to rupees 43.50 per share in FY25 so far. Mankind Pharma looks to raise near 3,000 crore rupees via QIP, while Gravita eyes rupees 1,000 crore. HCC2 joins the QIP queue with rupees 400 crore offer. Meanwhile, ADIA is likely to have sold over 9% in Mindspace REIT to raise over 1,900 crores. India's trade deficit hits a record $38 billion in November, propelled by the sharp jump in gold imports to $15 billion from just $3.5 billion a year ago. The rupee slips further on the queue. Hello, good afternoon. You've tuned into CNBC-TV18. You're watching Business Lunch, and I'm Vinny Motiwala. Markets, not much that we're seeing in terms of a move coming in, because we're seeing a sharper decline coming in for the markets from the day's highest point. So Nifty, as of now, managing to just hold on to the 24,400 levels. Look at it, just around that mark, 24,406 as of now. Sensex 2 is seeing a decline of 1% in trade. So today, the benchmark indices are something that are underperforming the broader markets. Mid and small cap are seeing a lesser decline coming in. Look at the mid cap, it's down 0.1%. Small cap also similarly 0.1%, and mid and small cap at one point of time was at least managing to trade in the green today. Talking about the top sectoral losers, and let's pull up the Nifty Bank as well. We have the Nifty Bank, PSU banks, which are under sharp pressure today as well. Nifty Bank down almost 1%. Other than that, energy and auto, that's also not managing to do anything well in trade. Gaining, and what is holding on to some bit of a positive side, we have those Nifty Realty side, which is holding on to gains, as well as the media and FMCG side managing to hold on to gains. So Nifty Realty, also some of the names are still seeing some positive up move in trade today. What's also doing well today and holding on to good green and positive up move, sharp up move for these stocks is the fertilizers and chemical stocks. So RCF, Gujarat State Fertilizer, FACT or NLC, all of this are managing to hold on to some bit of a gain in trade today. Let's move on. And the world is actually growing more anxious about the impact of Donald Trump's presidency on the global economy. But S. Narain of ICICI Prudential AMC believes that the long-term India's growth story is intact. He also told CNBC-TV18 that India is fundamental and stronger than the US, and adds that the valuations are just a matter of worry and one should watch out for that. But listen in to what more he had to say.
All said and done, India's growth rate is much higher than US and will continue to be, because structurally India's growth is much better than that of US. So I do not think it can continue forever. Can it continue for a few quarters? Yes, it's possible, but it won't last for a long period of time. Because if you look at India's macro, it is in very good shape. If you look at current account deficit or fiscal deficit or inflation, and compare where we are at this point of time, we are in very good shape. So I don't think it can go on forever. So I think at some point of time, FIIs are likely to come back into the country, and that too into large caps. I don't think really we are worried about growth. We've been worried about valuations and not growth and fundamentals, and the fact that, people are not discriminating.
Okay, let's move on and go across to Vamakshi, who's here to tell us some of the important stocks today that have been buzzing in trade on the back of some news flow. Vamakshi, good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon, Vinny. Let me first start off with Vedanta. They've announced an interim dividend, which is the fourth interim dividend for the year, of 8.5 rupees per equity share for FY25, and with this the total dividend payout now comes up to 43.5 rupees per share, and this in turn entails a payout of 3,324 crores, out of which the promoter is expected to receive 1,874 crores. The next stock that we're watching out for is Mankind Pharma. They've launched a QIP. They're likely to raise nearly 3,000 crores is what sources sources are suggesting, and this has come at an issue price of 2,520 rupees per share. The equity dilution could be somewhere around 2.9% on post-issue basis, and these funds are likely to be utilized for partial repayment of debt taken for the Bharat Serum's acquisition. Gravita India is in focus on the back of a QIP as well. They've set a floor price at 2,206.49 rupees per share, and sources suggest that the QIP size has been increased to 1,000 crores from 750 crores earlier. HCC too in focus on the back of its QIP. They've launched a QIP at an issue price of 43 rupees or so per share, and the base issue size is nearly 400 crores, which can then be upsized to nearly 600 crores. And lastly, let's focus in on GMR Airports. This is in focus on the back of an update for the month of November. In this month, passenger traffic was up nearly 14% year-on-year and 5% month-on-month at 1.12 crores, out of which the domestic passenger traffic saw an uptick of 14.3% year-on-year. International passenger traffic was up 11.3% year-on-year, and the November aircraft movement were up nearly 8% year-on-year, but on a month-on-month basis, there's a decline of nearly 3%. So, Rajni, those are the stocks that are in focus as of now.
Okay, Mamakshi, thank you so much for those list of stocks that are in focus and buzzing in trade. But we're going to slip into a very short break. And as we slip into break, let's introduce Growth Code, a special initiative by Grow and CNBC-TV18 with the aim of empowering investors and traders, prominent investors and professional traders gathered at Grow's Trading Right Summit on November 9th to share their valuable insights and strategies. Here's a snippet of what a pro trader, Shubhashish Pani, CEO of Power Stocks, had to say in terms of the importance of diversification.
जीरो टू जीरो किसको बोला जाता है कि हाँ आपने एक बेट लगाया वो 100 टाइम ग्रो कर गया, 1 रुपए में खरीदा 200 में बेचा या 100 में बेचा ऑप्शंस के हिसाब से, ये हर दिन नहीं होगा. दैट्स व्हाई बोला जाता है कि नहीं, यू हैव टू डाइवर्सिफाई. 15-20 स्टॉक लो, उसको बाद 15-20 साल बैठो, उसके अंदर थोड़ा सा और एनालिसिस एंड ऑल डाल दिए, क्योंकि आप इस फील्ड में हो तो करना पड़ेगा, डाल दिए तो आपको 2-4 स्टॉक मिल गया, आपका लाइफ बन गया. अगर राकेश झुंझुनवाला जी को पता होता है कि टाइटन ही जो मल्टी बैगर है, आपको नहीं लगता घर बेच के सारा पैसा डाल देते? लेकिन क्या ये स्टॉक उस टाइम पे 100% श्योर थे? हाँ, साइजेबल बेट के लिए रेडी थे. क्यों? क्योंकि उनको लग रहा था दिस कैन बी द स्टॉक, मेरे 15 स्टॉक में से ये एक स्टॉक होना चाहिए. यस और नो? आपका जीरो टू जीरो मतलब ये होता है कि नहीं, 1 लाख मेरे पास है, डाल देते हैं, अगर 5 बना ठीक है, नहीं बना तो खत्म.
Welcome back. You're tuned into Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18. Now, getting you a CNBC-TV18 exclusive, a whole host of deliberations and discussions are likely to take place at the GST Council meet on 21st of December. Let's go across to my colleague Tim C. Jaipuria, who's going to fill us in what one should be expecting from this meeting. What are the discussions that one should be watching out for? Tim C.
Well, the upcoming GST Council meeting on 21st of December in Jaisalmer is likely to have a packed agenda. This time what we are given to learn from sources, and as we've been reporting in the past, the two group of ministers report firstly on reducing rates on health and life insurance premium for current 18% is likely to be submitted in the council. The other report on rate rationalization too is likely to be submitted in the council for detailed deliberations. Apart from this, the council could deliberate on lowering tax on food delivery by e-commerce operators on the delivery charges from current 18% to 5% without input tax credit. Fitment committee is likely to propose this reduction, which will be applicable from 1st of January 2022, that is retrospectively from 2022. E-commerce players have been pleading this to bring them at par with restaurant services. Apart from that, for hotels, especially where the room tariff is more than 7,500 rupees per day per night, over there restaurants will have an option to choose to either select tax rate from 5% without ITC to 18% with ITC. However, this will be applicable from 1st of April 2025. So all these proposals, if agreed upon, could be a major change that we could see from the GST Council. Back to you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. All eyes on 21st of December. But let's move on. November goods trade deficit has come in at its highest ever monthly tally of around $38 billion. And this was mainly due to the sharp jump and rise that one saw in gold imports of around 330% versus $15 billion last year. So what more are the details of this? We have Lata joining with us to give us an insight of that. Lata?
Yep, we normally have a goods trade deficit of about $20 billion. So this $38 billion goods trade deficit came as a bit of a shocker. A large part of it is because gold imports have touched a high of $15 billion. We normally do $3 or $4 billion. There was 1 month when we did $7 billion last October 23. But 15 came practically out of the blue. And added to that, in the same month, that is November, we saw our goods exports fall a bit. The government has its standard explanations, which are very credible ones, of course, that the global growth is not all that good, and that's why our exports sometimes find it difficult to grow. But Indian growth is good, and therefore our consumption of imports continues to remain strong. Gold, they're still seeing it as a one-off because, as you all know, the gold prices went through the roof in the months of October and November. November was Diwali. It usually leads to more allocation to gold as an asset class, especially when it was rising. It almost threatened to touch $3,000, went past $2,900 per troy ounce. The expectation is that this could be a one-off. However, it was not only these negatives. We must note some positives in the export basket. Electronics exports were up 55%. So we are chugging along nicely in terms of the, making of iPhones and such other EMS companies' performance. Textiles, which is a employment-heavy industry, also has done well. Despite some global slowdown, it's grown by 10%. So those are the positive stories, and it's possible that the gold imports will taper off after the Diwali month. Now, it's important to note that it's the goods trade deficit which is very high at 38 billion. If you look at services and imports and exports, then it is a surplus. Our exports being far higher than the imports, and in fact, this is a monthly high in terms of services surplus of $17 billion, almost $18 billion. So if you subtract the services surplus from the goods trade deficit, our net deficit is about $20 billion, still high. Normally, this is about $5 billion, 5 to 10 max. It has never been $20 billion, goods and services combined deficit. However, the positives would be that as you go forward, you will have to have a higher current account deficit for the current quarter for sure. But economists feel for the full year, it may maximum go to 1.5% of GDP. In the first quarter, it was 1.1% of GDP. The reason why they don't expect it to go out of hand is because crude prices are coming down, and that will mean that the oil bill will keep shrinking a bit. Crude is also getting replaced by renewables. The second factor is that gold itself will be a one-off. And a third most important factor, services exports doing so well. So at the moment, there is not too much of a scare by this unusually high trade deficit.
Okay, Lata, thank you so much for the update coming in on that front. But getting you some important national updates. Now, the One Nation, One Election Bill has been introduced in the Lok Sabha around noon today. Union Law Minister Arjun Ram Meghwal introduced the bill. Now, the bill seeks to hold Lok Sabha and Assembly elections simultaneously and also aims to align the election of the Union Territories of Jammu and Kashmir, Puducherry and the NCT of Delhi. However, opposition's MPs led by the Congress opposed the bill and claiming that it infringes upon the federal structure of the country and is unconstitutional. In response, Home Minister Amit Shah commented that the Prime Minister is open for the bill to be sent to a joint Parliament committee. Listen in.
माननीय सदस्य बालू साहब ने कहा कि इसको जेपीसी को दे देना चाहिए। जब ये संविधान सुधार का विधेयक, संवैधानिक संशोधन जब कैबिनेट में चर्चा में आया, तब प्रधानमंत्री जी ने स्वयं मंशा व्यक्त करी थी कि इसको जेपीसी को देना चाहिए। इस पर विस्तृत चर्चा सभी स्तर पर होनी चाहिए।
Okay, on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break. But after the break, we'll address SoftBank's latest investment in the US and take a look into Trump's administration policies ahead of his taking office. Welcome back to Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18. Now, the President-elect Donald Trump held his first press conference since the election and ahead of his presidential inauguration. SoftBank announced plans to invest $100 billion in the U.S. projects. Trump expects SoftBank's investment to create 1 lakh jobs. Listen in.
I'm thrilled to announce that SoftBank will be investing $100 billion in America, creating 100,000 American jobs at a minimum. And he's doing this because he feels very optimistic about our country since the election. And many other people are also coming in with tremendous amounts of money. This historic investment is a monumental demonstration of confidence in America's future, and it will help ensure that artificial intelligence, emerging technologies, and other industries of tomorrow are built, created, and grown right here in the USA.
And at the same press meet, Trump also highlighted the key issues his administration is going to be focusing on, starting with the border control. Trump also commented on how the outgoing Biden administration is sabotaging efforts to fortify the U.S. borders. The president-elect also reiterated his promise of tax cuts as well. Listen in.
I built much more than I said I was going to build, but then after it was built, I said, you know, we can do some more because it's sort of like water, people flow through, and that will pretty much really take care of it. And what happened is they just, as you see, they're trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar. And that's really, that has nothing to do with a smooth transition. That has to do with people really trying to stop our nation. And all it means really is that we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars more. Not even talking about the time. The time would be pretty long. But we'll spend hundreds of millions of dollars more on building the same wall that we already have. And I'll keep my promise to pass historic tax cuts for American families, workers, and businesses that create jobs in America. As you know, we're giving tax cuts if they do it here. We brought it down from 44%, 42%. In some cases, it was 39%. We brought it all the way down to 21%, and now we're bringing it down to 15%, but only if they make their product, their car, or whatever they're doing in the United States, in the U.S.
Okay, and before we wind down this edition of Business Lunch, a quick look at the markets because Nifty has fallen below the 24,400 mark. 24,360, 370 levels is what the Nifty is trading at. Almost near the day's lowest point is what we're looking at, 1.2% decline. And in terms of the top declines, we have the banking names that are coming down. So HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank that are seeing a fall from the private banking side. And other than that, Reliance Industries also among the top drag contributors coming in for the Nifty. But that's where we're leaving the market. It's a goodbye from myself as well as the team who put the show together. Don't go anywhere. Midcap Radar up next.